Youth unemployment is one of the burning issues in the country, and recent statistics show that more than 3 million young South Africans are without a job. Government has various projects to change the youth unemployment scenario as per its National Development Plan. However, very little has come of this. And just what more can be done to ensure that young people have work prospects and they can look forward to a career in the job market? And to answer this question, we joined in studio by youth unemployment expert Jake Willis. Shalom to you and good morning. Thanks so much for joining us, Jake.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, so you are with Lula Way. What exactly is it? You call yourself a job engine.
Job creation engine.
Job creation engine, correct.
So basically, I mean, we work in essence on the entry-level space and trying to create more opportunities, trying to get more young people into jobs, and when they get into jobs, trying to make sure that they stick around for longer and that they actually get more opportunities. So we basically have a national network of job centers, which to me is one of the important things that need to change in the country in terms of the process of actually finding jobs, where there should be a clearer, sort of better process for people to find jobs as opposed to just running around and dropping off CVs in every sort of corner of the world,
And in your expert opinion, what is it that is problematic? Is it a lack of opportunities, or is it the fact that the youth are unemployable, or is there apathy as well, where some are not even seeking employment anymore?
So I can't say there's enough opportunities. I think you can never have enough opportunities, but certainly I could definitely say that there are a lot more opportunities that that would be filled quicker if the process of getting young people to work in these opportunities wasn't as sort of cumbersome and as difficult. I mean, if we know around the world, there's plenty of organizations that offer sort of unpaid internships, in various cases. I could tell you that in this country, very few young people would sort of be willing to work in an unpaid internship. I mean, when they go into a learnership, we sort of find the young people there and they're sort of interrogating how much am I going to get paid to sort of be trained in a particular thing. So there's certainly a huge amount of apathy and not necessarily an excitement about work that we'd be looking for.
And volunteerism as well, as you're saying, that at least just getting your foot in the door where you can then prove yourself and work your way up the career ladder, as it were. Do you think that is an attitude or a paradigm shift that should happen among young people?
For sure, but I think even taking it a step back, I think one of the big issues we find is that there's a huge amount of, just as a general thing, if we phone, say, 100 people and offer them an opportunity, and whatever it is, and I mean, obviously, we're not at entry level, we're not necessarily offering always jobs that will pay tens of thousands of rands, as a starting point, but there are opportunities, and if we phone 100 people and offer them the opportunity, we're generally going to find that not more than 50% of them, at the most, will accept the opportunity. Out of the 50 that sort of accepted the opportunity, our general statistics are that only 50% of them will show up for the interview. At the interview, companies are very often not particularly difficult. Some are more, some are less, but generally speaking, I don't find that companies are the ones that are sort of putting up the hurdles. Very often we'll find 25 will pitch up, company will accept 20 of them, and in the first day of the job, 15 will show up.
Yeah, so you're saying that the negative perception is incorrect or inaccurate in the sense that government is failing to create employment. You can name a whole myriad of reasons why, be it corruption, maladministration, or gatekeeping, that in essence it is also on the part of some young people not wanting to participate in these opportunities.
So it's obviously a multifaceted, sort of issue that has various things. But certainly I think if you look at the SETA system and the learnership system and the internship system, I mean, there's just a huge amount of government intervention that's actually being thrown into the space, and certainly we find that that there's a huge amount of apathy out there. There are some great young people. I mean, they're great people, but to find them is a process of sifting. And in many cases, we find, I mean, these learnerships, often they start out with 1,000 people or whatever it is, and as time goes by, the guys will sort of drop and go off to doing other things. People just leave jobs without having any other opportunities. we had this one program that we ran recently where we had about 500 young people there. And I was sitting there with, and we managed to place a bunch of them in various work opportunities. And I was sitting with a group of 50 of them that remained out of that. And, we offered them probably at least 3, 4, 5 different opportunities. And they were sitting there, and each one of the opportunities, they had some reason why they didn't, want to go to it. One of them, they said the toilets were too dirty. The other ones, they said the working hours were too long, and it's just like, one of them said, no, the company was selling something that they didn't absolutely believe in, so they just, they couldn't do it. And I think there's just this sense with a lot of young people that, government owes them to sort of just put
so
them
there's a sense of
somewhere and pay them.
entitlement. So how do you then change that, especially when we're seeing youth unemployment on the increase and primarily around the age groups of where they're supposed to be at their most productive, 24 to 35, if the attitude is that I want a specific job that will fulfill whatever high expectations that I have, albeit that they're not necessarily entitled to it?
So it's a challenge. I think one of the most important things I'll put my name on it and say that any young black South African that is made up his mind that they really want a job and they go out there and seek it seriously, if they're at least minimally educated, they will be able to find it. There are many opportunities out there. If you walk into a mall, any of the malls, and diligently walk from shop to shop to shop to shop, okay, and say, I'm willing to work and I'm willing to accept any salary, I could almost guarantee you that you'll find something. If you walk through the call centers, there are many opportunities out there. Again, I don't know if everybody would sort of take up these opportunities and go in and say, you know what, I'm willing to do it, I'm willing to volunteer. Will we run out of opportunities? Probably quite quickly. But I think then also opportunities would grow. But certainly there are many situations, many places where there's a lot of gaps in the economy, a lot of gaps where more people could be working, and a lot of them are not taking it up.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the demographics, and I think you pretty much painted a picture that it is largely young black young people who are not employed and yet would not want to take up an opportunity because it doesn't suit whatever they require. So, how do we, again, go to the point where there is a vision, when you motivate young people enough to say this is only a stepping stone to get you to a certain level?
So I think maybe just to put it, it's not the issue is not just with black South Africans. I think across the demographics, there's a sense of entitlement throughout. I think my point of focusing on black South Africans is that there's just this huge network of support in many ways for young black South Africans, or network of sort of government pushing incentives in various ways, which while if a sort of a white young South African is walking around, it will be more difficult for him in many ways to sort of find an opportunity than a young black South African, because there's a lot of sort of incentives and whatever it is for companies to employ young black South Africans. So really there's a lot of sort of support that is coming in from government side to do that. And I think really we need to start pushing, we need to start pushing in every opportunity, and we do that. I mean, in all the activations and all of these things, we've got this, we're constantly talking to young people, and I say to them time and time again, I say to them, guys, you've got to get into some opportunity, you've got to get the foot in the door in some way or the other, and don't expect that the job that you get into will be, sort of where you're going to end. I mean, we've got so many instances in our company, and it's actually a bit difficult for us because we get these young people come in, they work for a year or two, and suddenly they get snapped up at salaries that we honestly can't really afford to keep up with. And I mean, I was sitting yesterday with this young lady that I just heard through the grapevine that she's going for interviews, and I was annoyed because she's one of our good people, and I sat down with her. And she's basically going in for interviews at a salary that's 3 times what she's earning at us. And I said to her, listen, I can't blame you. Any person needs to be looking after their own interest in some way. And if you're offered a salary that's 3 times what you're getting, you kind of have to take it up. But so there's lots of opportunities. Guys really need to sort of get in there. And
we'll get into the staff retention and what the obligation or responsibility of the employer is. But I just want to go back in the sense that because of our unique history, that there had to be a concerted effort to redress the injustices of the past and ensure that we have some level of equity or, equality in the democratic constitution that we live in, that if you're saying because of the government interventions focusing largely on black youth, that the white youth are sidelined, or there are no opportunities, or it's more difficult, can you just clarify then what the options are for your young prospective employees rather?
So again, back to I don't believe it's misdirected. I do believe that as much as I'm saying that that white South Africans might struggle a little bit more in finding jobs. In many cases, they won't, because they're better educated and they've got a lot of other opportunities in various ways. So I'm just kind of pointing that, if you're looking at a sort of entry-level young person walking in there, obviously, a white South African is much more likely to be, trained as a fully fledged accountant or whatever it is, in which case he won't struggle. So it's less of an issue. I'm talking about basic entry-level sort of positions, which there really is a lot of support for, for black South Africans to be able to get into them.
Okay, so let's define, because we can just use this as a symbolism to say opportunities, and young people thinking, where are these? Is it in the retail sector? Is it largely manufacturing? Or do I go with the extended public works program? Is it, where do I go to source or explore these opportunities?
So I think there's a lot of opportunities within the retail sector. There's a lot of opportunities within the call center space. I mean, if you're willing to go in and get a job as a outbound sales call center agent, I could tell you that there are many, many places where they have no requirements, no need for experience or whatever it is. But it is a hard job. I mean, you need to be sitting there on the phone and phoning people and trying to convince them to buy something or the other. So it's not like, it's not great work, but as soon as you manage to stick around in that kind of work for 6 months, there's many, many other opportunities that sort of open up. So there's call centers, there's security. I mean, security guards get paid nowadays probably 4,000 Rand to start. I can't tell you how many people we've phoned and sort of offered opportunities in the security space, and they're just like, no, they're not interested because of this, or whatever it is. So there are many, many opportunities, really.
Yeah, and Jack, do you think maybe the process of, be it career guidance or what is offered in the public education system, is not producing the right caliber or the characteristics of somebody who would be able to identify an opportunity and run with it?
I think the focus on sort of career guidance in many ways is almost in some ways borrowed from shall we say, more developed economies in some way, where you could say, okay, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a stockbroker or a computer programmer or an accountant and that kind of a thing? But fortunately or unfortunately, we're sitting in an economy where a lot of the opportunities are basic. We're talking about shelf packers, we're talking about security guards, we're talking about call center agents, we're talking about basic admin people. Now, nobody wakes up, nobody grows up thinking, hey, I really want to be a shelf packer when I grow up. So it's not sort of a career choice that people need to be making. It's the understanding that in order to get to a stage where you have career choices, you need to have a little bit of experience, you need to have something. So, that...
Is it too late, sorry to break your word, is it too late for some, as if you're saying that if that didn't happen at elementary stage where you would hold down a part-time job over the weekends? We had, I think it was called Student Wise at UJ, where, for example, if there's a strike in a particular hotel or tourism sector, then would come in through the back door to do basic stuff, like you're saying, cleaning, making beds at 4 Rand odd per hour. But it adds up at the end of the day. Do you think that it is too late for some who didn't have that kind of, I suppose, indoctrination?
Exposure. So no, absolutely not. I think the idea is to say, if you're looking for an opportunity, you need to go out there and get the foot in the door. Once you've got the foot in the door, I always tell the story of my sister that, came back from overseas with a, quite prestigious sort of computer programming degree, and she was, looking left, right for an opportunity in her field, and she couldn't find it. And I told her, listen, if you're sitting at home and you're waiting for opportunities to come land on your laps, it's not going to happen. Go out there, do something, whatever it is, and something will happen. She went out, got a job as a waitress in a restaurant, and literally within 3 weeks, a guy that owned a computer programming company came in and offered her a job. So if you're not out there, you're not doing things, you're not going to get there. You cannot sit at home and just say, I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity to land on my laps. Get out there, do some work, and at the same time, people need to understand that just because you went in there and you're working as a cleaner, as a security guard, as a call center agent, keep on looking. Nobody's saying sort of sit down there and accept that that is the be-all and end-all, but do something.
All right, we'll put your details on our website and on our social media platforms. But thank you indeed. That's Jake Willis from Lulaway, and they are a job creation engine. And you're welcome to join us on social media. We'll put all the details there. For now, though, we'll take a quick break. We'll see you shortly.